read six books this month. I'm so excited to get into them, dive into them, talk to you about them. I kind of went back and forth a little bit towards the end of 2023, kind of like trying to decide if this was something that I wanted to keep doing on my channel. I think I was just experiencing a little bit of burnout towards the end of the year, but selfishly, this is one of my favorite videos to film for you guys. We have so much discourse in the comments, and we get to talk to each other about our good monthly reads, so I will continue to keep doing these videos. I just wanted to kind of say that. Anyways, let me know in the comments the best book you've ever read. It doesn't have to be from this month. The best book in your whole entire life that you have read. I have 3 physical books and 3 Kindle books that I read this month. So we're going to do the physical books first, then we'll jump into the Kindle books. I'm just gonna pull right off the top. This was actually the last book that I read this month. It was One of Us is Lying. Also, follow me on GoodReads. I am so active on GoodReads this year. I'm trying to kind of like step that game up a little bit. So many of you we've become friends with each other on GoodReads, and I'm seeing what you're reading. You're seeing what I'm reading. So it'll always be in the description box. Follow me on Insta, follow me on GoodReads. Anyways, this was the last book that I read this month. One of Us is Lying by Karen McManus. My goodness, you guys, this book was so juicy. This took me right back to being in high school. It just gave me major high school vibes. This is about 5 students, technically. 5 students go to detention. One of them dies. The other 4 are murder suspects. is about Clementine. Clementine lives in New York, and her aunt, who is like her best friend in the whole world, someone she loves dearly, her aunt ends up passing away, leaving Clementine her apartment. And she's always told Clementine stories about this apartment, that it's magical and it can make you travel 7 years in the past. And her aunt always had funny little stories, so Clementine didn't know to believe it or not. So she ends up moving in, and she ends up going to the past 7 years, literally, and she meets a guy named Iwan, and they just connect, and they hit it off, and Clementine is learning how to live almost a double life, because she's living in the present, obviously, but every time she goes home, she meets back up with Iwan in the past, and they end up falling for each other. The one rule that her aunt had was do not fall in love in this apartment. I don't want to spoil it because I will keep blabbing. This was such a beautiful story, you guys. The relationship and the connection and the discourse, is that my word of the day, discourse, because I've already used it so many times, but the dialogue that the characters have between each other is amazing. And when you read it, it does happen so quickly, everything happens so fast, but it's so organic in a way. I'm not sure that I could explain it properly, but just this budding relationship of these two characters was so beautiful. It is a happy ending. They do end up meeting up in present time, obviously. That's not much of a spoiler because as to be expected. And in this book, he always calls her Lemon, because her name is Clementine. So cute. I found that so adorable. I read this book while sitting on the couch with my husband. He was playing Call of Duty. I have never wiped so many tears and so much snot into my shirt before, because there's no way that I could explain to him why I was crying when I was reading this book. The ending was just so beautiful and just so blissful and magical, and just made you fall in love. The third physical book that I read this month was Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry. I do apologize about the lighting in here. I don't know what's going on. I think it's too dark, but it's also too late to change it. Anyways, Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry by Joya Goffney. This book for me was an unexpected read. Not an unexpected read, but the way that this book made me feel was very unexpected. Reading the synopsis, I thought this was going to give to All the Boys I Loved Before, but it did not, and in the best way possible, honestly. This book touches on Quinn. She is in high school. She's a senior. She's a black girl, and she is just wanting to be perfect, wanting to please her parents and get into Columbia and follow in her parents' footsteps. And then there is Carter, who is low poverty but so academically smart, but has never been a book personally that I've read so far that makes me feel seen, because Quinn is a black girl in like a white neighborhood, and her friends, like, they use the N-word and stuff, and Carter helps her realize that those things are wrong, and Quinn feels bad because she's like, no, I've let them do it, you know, all this time, saying the N-word, making racial black jokes. She's just let this behavior go on. She feels like, no, I can't say anything now, but Carter helps her realize, like, that's wrong. Speak up, use your voice, and educate your friends who are uneducated. This was so amazing. There's so much more to this book than that, but Quinn ends up finding her true tribe and her true self and who she wants to be, not, you know, who her community thinks she should be or who her parents want her to be. She finds her true self, 100% unapologetically herself. I love this book. This was very YA, but it was honestly unexpectedly amazing, and I'm so happy that I picked this book up and I gave it a chance. And it's honestly one of the greatest stories I think I've read so far. Alrighty, you guys, now we are getting into the Kindle books. The first book that I read, well, I don't actually remember what number in the list I read this book, but I read My Life with the Walter Boys by Ali Novak. I do believe that they made this into it's a Netflix series now. Okay, I enjoyed this book thoroughly. My Kindle's gonna make the microphone do all that weird alien noise. So this book is about Jackie, her entire family. She has a mom, a dad, and a sister. They end up dying in a car accident, and she's living with like a family friend for a while in New York, where that's where she's from. And she goes to like an all-girls like boarding school. So after this tragic accident, she's living in her family apartment with her uncle, and then one day her mom's like best friend comes and is like, you're moving to Colorado to live on my family farm, and she has 12 kids. And yeah, Jackie's like, what is my life? She's not happy about it. And she makes this move to Colorado. She meets the Walter Boys, all ranging in different ages, and she kind of like navigates life through this experience of living with them. It's kind of messy too, because there's like a love triangle. There's two brothers that both want her, and she doesn't know which brother to choose. It's honestly giving The Summer I Turned Pretty a little bit. It has the same air as that book, except add 10 other boys and like ranging in ages. This book was really good, don't get me wrong. It was amazing. It was cute. It was, you know, brought all those feels, but there's some things that I didn't like about it. I just think like the character situation was a lot. It was a lot to handle. Having like all of these characters introduced to you, and then like you're trying to keep up through the story, trying to like remember their names and stuff. And besides the two brothers that she was like into, and then there was another brother that became friends with her, all the other people really don't matter to the story besides like 3 or 4 of them. So I feel like adding all of these kids kind of killed December wrap up, I did tell you guys that I kind of DNF'd this book, and I did. At the end of December, I just did not feel like reading anymore. But I told myself, you know what, I'm gonna finish this book this month. And it was the first book that I finished. So I felt pretty good about that. This is about Cassandra. She is a matchmaker who has sworn off love. Well, one day when she's on her way to like meet with a client, or actually it's nighttime, so one night, her car breaks down on the side of the road, and she like calls AAA or whatever and loses signal. And then this mechanic, they end up crossing paths. He comes down this like dark, desolate road and is like, oh, someone's pulled over, like let me help them. His name is Luke, and she just jumps out the car and is like so rude to him and is just so mean because she thinks that he's AAA, and she's been out there for like 2 hours. Well, come to find out, he wasn't AAA. He just happened to be at the right place at the right time. And his sisters had also ended up setting him up with this matchmaker. Like, they submitted his application. It's just all a bunch of happenstance, right? Okay, so he ends up falling for the matchmaker who has sworn off love. And this book takes you on the journey of them figuring out what the heck is going on. The author could have done such an amazing job, such like more of an amazing job. Cassandra is just a insufferable, man-hating woman. This character is so insufferable, like it's unexplainable. And then of course Luke is like the golden retriever boyfriend vibe. It felt like Cassandra did not want to be with him, but was forcing herself to be with him, and it's a happily ever after. I just did not love this book. Thinking back on it now, it was a very annoying book with a very annoying main female character. Alrighty guys, so the last Kindle book that I have to tell you guys about for this month was, well, you can't really see it, but it's No One Has to Know by Karen Hart. Trigger warning or whatever. This is very much a smut book, but we're gonna talk about it. So this is about Angela, who is a florist, and she is being stalked by this cop named Mason Burns. He is like the town cop, and one day she like ends up bringing him a flower from her shop that she works at, and he like gets it in his mind that this is the woman for me that I need to stalk. He knows nothing about her. He ends up carrying this on for months, breaking into her apartment at night, watching her sleep. He knows all of her secrets, and then she goes out on a date, and that's the night that he decides, I'm going to kidnap her. He ends up arresting her, taking her home to like his basement that he like furnished, and holding her prisoner pretty much, all in the name of love, I guess. The major plot twist comes at the end. There's actually not much more that I can tell you because it's just them going back and forth in the basement. Officer Burns explaining in the obviously. He ends up like tattooing his name on her. But then it's just like she's angry about it. But then come to find out at the end, like this is all what she wanted, which like has me so confused, and it kind of like invalidates the whole beginning of the story and like everything like that, because it comes out like this is what she wanted to happen. It just felt like the author wrote that to kind of like tie up the story, kind of like she didn't have much else to write about, so she was like, oh, let me add this twist in here to end the story. I don't know, you guys, I wish I could unread it. It just wasn't great. I've read better smut before. Like, I don't know, sometimes I feel like just because it's smut does not mean that it has to be bad. I don't know. This is the end of our first reading wrap up of 2024. Thank you so much for being here with me. Let me know in the comments below the best book you've ever read and the books that you ended up reading this month. I do get a lot of inspiration from you guys, so I'm forever, forever, forever grateful. I'm sending you major love, major peace, major good vibes. I'm getting excited.